Saitou is an ordinary handyman that gets transported to another world where his skills are very useful. He starts to really understand what it means to be needed. We will tell you about his story now. Saitou is a handyman who works in a company and can repair all kinds of tools. Currently he is unlocking the door of a mother's house who was losing her key, but sadly, when Saitou unlocked the door, he was only given a pittance. Many people considered Saitou useless and underestimated his abilities. They always pay a price that is far below the standard fee that has been set. Saitou is superior also thought that someone else could replace his ability, so Saitou could leave this company if he didn't want to accept this job anymore, but one day he is suddenly transferred to another world with an even more ancient era than Earth. Long story short, after Saitou lived in another world. He got a party of 3 people: Old Wizard, Morlik Fairy Lafapan and one night girl Rauza. Currently they were in a dungeon that was usually used to complete quests. Saitou. His abilities in this world were very useful to his friends, because no one else had Saitou's abilities. He can open locked rooms in every labyrinth passage of the dungeon. Saitou could open a treasure chest to get money or gold inside. Because of that, Pralsa secretly loves Saitou. He can always be relied on in any situation. When Saitou managed to open the treasure chest in the room, it turned out to be just a trap and Rouse immediately killed. The monsters that appeared from this chest, afterward Rouse's helmet, was damaged because they had been doing quests in this dungeon. For a long time, then Saitou asked Rouse to take off her helmet, so Saitou could fix it. Rouse removed her helmet, while blushing, because Saitou was concerned about her. After that, Saitou's party relaxed in a large field. Saitou was curious about Morlik because he was a great wizard, but unreliable at the party. Rouse and Laffy explained that Morlik had over level 80 and his level was far away compared to Rouse. Lava and Saitou Moralik had actually retired to become an adventurer due to his old age, but he was still an adventurer even now. Before Saitou entered this world, Rouse and Lafa had a hard time at a party with Morlik. He always forgot magic spells and was a pain in the ass for Arousal and Lava when fighting so many monsters. Even Morlik forgot where place the dungeon was to teleport himself and occasionally forgot his own party members. Moreover, Morlik forgot his human form and suddenly found himself in a group of undead monsters. Was a forgetful old man. Rouse and Lafa were lucky to have a party member like Morlik. At that time, Rouse and Lava had died in dungeons and Morlik had no more mana to use magic. So Morlik immediately dragged Rouse and Laffy's corpses out of the dungeon. Then he sold all party members' equipment to earn money. After that he immediately paid and revived them back in the church, but Morlik doesn't sell Arousala's bikini, outfit, and Rouse is still curious about why Morola keeps those clothes. Then they would head back to town together, and suddenly Morlik had the usual back pain. Because of that, Lafa healed Morlik's pain with her magic. But the problem is that Lafa always asks for payment from anyone using her magic services. Then Saitou offered to help carry Lafa's bag because she looked tired of carrying coins with such a small body, but Lafa refused because she would still carry her own bag. Because of that, Saitou made a prettier and easier bag for Lafa to carry on her back. Lafa wanted to pay for Saitou's services, but Saitou didn't want to be paid by Lava, so he ordered Lafa to cure Morlik's back pain long term. Initially Lafa disagreed with this, but since this was Saitou's decision, Laffy immediately did as he was told. The next day, Saitou visited a blacksmith shop run by a teenage girl named Mavino. Saitou's friends in this world already knew that Saitou was from another world, because Saitou's abilities were very useful. In any case, shortly after a knight visits Mavana's shop, when the knight looked at the items there, Saitou greeted the knight because it turned out to be a Rouser. Rouza and Lafayette had been following Saitou since this morning. Wiliza was curious about Mavin and Saitou's relationship because they always seemed to get along well with each other. In Lafo's mind, she was amazed by Saitou because he could recognize Rouza, even though she was wearing another armor afterward. An adventurer wanted to sell a sword drop from a monster dungeon. He deliberately lied to Mavin up because he wanted to earn money. The sword he sold was a broken sword that had only magic added to it. Now the sword has no effect because he has removed the magic, but it turns out that Mavana is the one who gets a huge profit. The sword the adventurer was selling just now was cheap when compared to the mithril material. This sword had mithril was the most expensive material in this world, so Mavin and Saitou could refine this sword into other swords at a high selling price. On the other hand, Rouse still stalks Saitou because she is jealous of Melvin. Several days later, Saito's party returned to dungeon quests again as usual. Morlock kept forgetting the magic spell he wanted to cast. Because of that, Rouse immediately kills the monster to protect Saitou. Rouse said more liquid rather retire, because he always forgets magic spells when fighting every monster. But Morlick doesn't want to leave this party, because only his attacks have the biggest damage area. Lafa couldn't use large-scale magic because her magic prioritized protection and support. Only hearing all that, Saitou wanted Morlick to teach him many magic spells. Saitou wanted to be able to use magic, so he could help the party fight monsters. After several hours of experimentation, it turned out that Saitou couldn't use the magic dot by Morlick. The reason was that Saitou didn't have the mana to release the magic before long. Many goblins suddenly attacked them. Spunza won't be able to fight them because there are too many when Morlock wanted to use magic. He again forgot his magic spell. Saitou immediately reminded Morlick of the spell he wanted to cast, and thanks to Saitou, they managed to exterminate many of the goblins in the dungeon. Even though Saitou couldn't use magic, he could memorize some of Morlick's magic spells. Because of that, Rouse loved Saitou even more. Then they continued exploring the dungeon and arrived at a room with a treasure chest, but this area is anti-magic, so they can't fight optimally. If a monster appears suddenly again, Saitou tried to open the treasure chest there, and after a few seconds it turned out to be a trap just like Minecraft. This resulted in Saitou falling into a cave and his leg was broken after several hours. Saitou's friends finally managed to find another way to save Saitou. Saitou didn't expect to have friends like this in another world. This was very different from when he was on Earth back then.
飽きました。安くしなさいよ。作業費合わせて7000円。よし。待ってたのよ。出張費。でもいる。ああ、どうも。鍵開けの腕を買われただけ。ああ、どうも。買えないエリアだ。もう。嫌ならやめろ。
信用してみようよ。腕の立つと厳重だね。そうだけど。
本当に開けられるのか？
急いでくれ。
そうだな。すぐに済む。すぐに済む。
レベル80以上あるか。
もう忘れる。
前は集合場所も忘れる。
呪文を忘れる。
前は集合場所も忘れる。
よかった。いくら待っても来ない。
そうか。もう忘れるのでパーティーを追い出されま。おお。ここに戻ったの？
もういい。この日ジジイを残してパーティーが全部。
ラジャよ。ジジイはに入れて。
で。
ああ、どこに。ここ一体引くぞ。
ねえ、ねえ。元気でな。
全部売って教会に行って。装備を全部売って教会に行って。そしてパーティーが全滅。私。
および血行改善。
元。
毎度。
カバン修理はセットでホーム作ってやる。モーロックさんに魔法で助けてもらってるから。幻影の作りだと羽が通る。
きちんと受け取るべき。
もらってるから腰を良くしてやってくれ。いいよ別に。子供の頃習ってた。こっちの
人間の指。いらっしゃい。どうぞご覧ください。もう。
薬草。
あ、いらっしゃい。気になるな。
持ってたんだラエルザ。
この魔法の剣いくら枕に攻撃力アップのちょろいもん
剣ただの生蔵
かけただけ。今頃元に戻るもんだ。おかげでもう
で金貨300枚。いい買い物。
ダンジョンで拾った生蔵に攻撃力。よし撃った
これ頭身はず。
拾った生蔵に攻撃力アップの魔法。
礎じゃない
壁となり
壁とな
やっぱ引退するか。
鍵開けや修理くらいしかできない。
編集
失礼ね。少しはできるよ。
ラファ
忘れがひどいな。やっぱ引退するか。
大丈夫。心配なんだこの。
から来たと言っても鍵開け。
わしがいないと困るじゃろう。ラフさっきも言ったじゃん。わしの腰の治療
俺は
という大事
足で
大丈夫。
壁となり
足手まといになっている。
何それ。ただし。
最近は特に物忘れがひどいな。
つけで
また。
全部じゃないけど。
ミミックなら任せ。
勝ったらどうする。
また。
せっかくここまで来たんだ。
大丈夫か斎藤。使えないからジジイもラファンファンも。
見捨てるわけないじゃろ。